Hello friends, welcome to today's video, and in this video I am going to unfold how the Indians have performed in the WBBL over the years. On last Saturday 15th October, India clinched their 7th Asia Cup title in the most emphatic fashion, and after finishing the national duties, three players from that triumphant Indian side will join the world's most established women's T20 league, Women's Big Bash League, known as WBBL. The three players who are going to join the WBBL this season are first and foremost Indian skipper Harman, who has been retained by Melbourne Renegades in this season after ruling the last season by scoring 406 runs in an average of 58 and a strike rate of almost 131 in her 12 innings. But she didn't just stop there. She showcased an all-round performance by taking 15 wickets with the best figure of 3 for 22, and also took 8 brilliant catches and unsurprisingly ended up being the player of the tournament, first Indian to do so. The second player who is going to be the first Indian player to play for the other Melbourne team, Melbourne Stars, is none other than Jemimah Rodrigues. In the last season in 2021, Jemimah made her WBBL debut with Melbourne Renegades and shared the dressing room with her compatriot Captain Kaur. She had a memorable season with amassing 333 runs in 13 innings and scored 250s as well. Jemimah will also be the third Indian to play WBBL for multiple seasons after Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana. Smriti Mandhana will miss this season owing to workload after being on the road since July this year. So she needed this break, but she might be seen playing in the senior T20 trophy for Maharashtra. The third and last Indian player who will play in WBBL this season is star pace all-rounder Pooja Vastrakar. This will be her debut WBBL season and going to play in the two times champion side Brisbane Heat. She will be the third Indian player to play in the Heats after Smriti Mandhana played in 2016 and leg spinner Poonam Yadav in 2021. Now let's have a look at the history of how the Indian players have played in each season of WBBL. Out of the 7 seasons, Indian players have played in 4 seasons. The 3 seasons in which there was no Indian representation were the inaugural season in 2015, the 4th season in 2019 due to their national duties, and lastly the 5th season in 2020 due to COVID-19 restrictions and a clash of scheduling between the Women's T20 Challenge and WBBL. In the second season of WBBL, Harmanpreet Kaur became the first Indian to be signed in a foreign T20 franchise league, let alone in WBBL, by Sydney Thunders. In the same season, Smriti Mandhana also got the chance to play in WBBL for the first time in Brisbane Heats. They were the only 2 Indian representations in that season. Remind you, BCCI doesn't give NOC to its male players. So while Harman had a season to remember, Smriti's season ended on a horrible and painful note. Harman amassed a total of 296 runs in 12 innings at an average of 59.20 and took 6 wickets with the ball, and also ended up being the third highest 6 scorer with 11 sixes. And who can forget the humongous 6 over covers left both the viewers and the bowler Gemma Triscari herself in awe. And she also ended up being Sydney Thunder's player of the tournament in her debut season. Smriti Mandhana, on the other hand, had a kind of underwhelming season with the bat, and she probably bowled the last time in her career where she took 3 wickets because she suffered an ACL injury during the WBBL and had to undergo surgery and strenuous rehab, what kept her out from cricket for almost 6 months. She made her comeback straight into the 2017 World Cup. Meanwhile, the legendary duo of Indian cricket Mithali Raj and Jhulan Goswami were invited to play the WBBL for several times in the initial seasons, but both of them didn't accept those offers to focus on their domestic assignments with Railways and Bengal respectively. Now let me tell you an interesting fact that after the 2017 World Cup, Harman parted her way from Railways and moved back to her home state Punjab to represent them in the domestics. But until 2022 Senior Women's T20 Trophy, where she captained Punjab, she couldn't play for Punjab in the domestics since the 2017 World Cup, mostly due to WBBL. So this is how both the things collide actually. But where Harman has evolved a lot as a player due to WBBL, Jhulan's staying back to help her team Bengal to end the Railways' dominance and clinched domestic one-day title for the first time in 2018. So I am just giving a perspective that how both the calls of playing and not playing are fruitful in their own ways. In the third season, due to Smriti's off form in the later part of the 2017 World Cup and not so impressive first season of WBBL, she wasn't retained by her team Brisbane Heats and missed that season to play. Harmanpreet Kaur, on the other hand, unsurprisingly, was retained by Sydney Thunders and had a decent season. Veda Krishnamurti, because of her World Cup heroics, got a WBBL contract, being the third Indian. She played for Hobart Hurricanes, a team that underperforms every season, was no different in that season as well. Veda had a decent season with them, but on a long run, it remained her only season to play in WBBL. In the fourth season, in 2018-19, Harmanpreet Kaur again had a very good season, being a middle order batter for Sydney Thunders, with scoring 310 runs with 250s and smashed 15 sixes. Also ended up being the fifth highest six scorer in that season. Smriti Mandhana, on the other hand, made a comeback to the WBBL with a bang. She was having a phenomenal international season in 2018, and this time round she was playing for Hobart Hurricanes, where Veda Krishnamurti played last season. She scored 318 runs with a whopping strike rate of 144.55. In 13 innings. She scored 250s as well and actually brought up her first WBBL 50 in that season. As I mentioned earlier, due to the national duties in 2019 and COVID restrictions in 2020, no Indians participated in the season 5 and 6. Last year in 2021, the 7th season of WBBL witnessed a flurry of Indian players to play there, as just before the WBBL, Indian team travelled to Australia to play a multi-format series with Australia, and due to the strict border restrictions and quarantine protocols, many players from other parts of the world didn't travel to Australia, and Indian players surely caught the eyes of the WBBL teams as well. So the number of Indian representations ratcheted up to 8 players. So far, a maximum of 2 Indian players only participated in the previous each seasons. Now let's have a look at who were and how they performed for their respective teams in last season. We have already seen how Harman and Jemima have performed for Melbourne Renegades last season, where it was the first season for Harman to play for the Renegades. It was Jemima's maiden WBBL season. Team Sydney Thunders signed Smriti Mandhana and Deepti Sharma to fill the gap left by Rachel Haynes and Heather Knight, the two players who led Thunders in their title run in 2020. Smriti scored 377 runs, including 2 half centuries and a century. She also became the first Indian to score a century in WBBL. Deepti Sharma, on the other hand, showcased an all-round effort of 211 runs and 13 wickets in 13 matches. The two youngsters, Shafali Verma and Radha Yadav, played their maiden season in Sydney Sixers. In 12 innings, Shafali scored 191 runs, including 250s. She also played in the middle order as well. They pushed her to the middle order, so that was a very tricky thing, but still she scored a 50 there. And Radha Yadav scalped 9 wickets with the best figure of 2 for 22. Being the third Indian after Smriti Mandhana in 2019 and Veda Krishnamurti in 2018, Indian hard hitter and wicketkeeper Richa Ghosh played in the Hobart Hurricanes team last year. Her maiden WBBL season was a bit underwhelming with only 162 runs to her name in 14 innings, with her highest score of 46. And last but not the least, leg spinner Poonam Yadav got her maiden WBBL call-up for Brisbane Heats. Previously, Smriti Mandhana played her maiden WBBL season in 2016 for the Heats. Poonam Yadav roped in the absence of their regular campaigner, New Zealand's leggy Amelia Kerr, who took a break at the time to take care of her mental health. Poonam Yadav scalped 10 wickets in an economy of 6.64 in 13 matches, and 3 for 17 was her best figure. So, we have seen how Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur are two of the legends of WBBL of all time, where Mandhana has scored close to 800 runs in 36 innings with 450s and 100 to her name in her three-season WBBL career. Harmanpreet Kaur has been the most decorated Indian player in the WBBL history. In 48 matches, she has scored more than 1000 runs, being the first Indian player to do so, and took 27 wickets in 4 seasons. Now, as she going to play her 5th WBBL season this year, she will surely be the first Indian player to play 50 WBBL matches. Now, it's an interesting fact that no Indian player has been part of any of the last 7 seasons winning team member, whether it's of Thunders, Sixers, Heats, or of the defending champion Scorchers. So this time around, Harman, Jemima and Pooja must be eyeing to lift the elusive WBBL trophy with their respective teams. The WBBL season has already started from 13th October, and you can watch on Sony Sports Network and Sony Live app in India.